Federal law requires that all utility vehicles, including your Explorer, carry a caution to drivers. Avoid any unnecessary sharp turns or other abrupt maneuvers that could cause loss of control, possibly leading to rollover. Now for some tips on how to handle your Explorer on-road. And remember, always buckle up. There's no need to depress the accelerator before starting the engine. The electronic fuel injectors eliminate the need to do that. It's important to remember that the braking characteristics of a four-wheel drive unit are the same as with a two-wheel drive. It will not stop in less distance with a four-wheel drive. If you have a four-wheel drive model and find you need additional traction in certain situations, with the mere touch of a button, you can select the sure-footed security of four-wheel drive. We'll be covering this procedure in greater detail in a moment. For an added plus, the Explorer's electronic rear anti-lock brake system, which operates when traveling in two-wheel drive, is designed to inhibit complete rear wheel lockup and help you come to straight stops under most operating conditions. Now let's cover some on-road emergency situations. If your vehicle goes off the edge of the pavement, slow down, but avoid severe brake application. Ease the vehicle back onto the pavement only after reducing your speed and the traffic clears. Don't turn the wheel too sharply while returning to the road surface. If you're forced off the road and into a ditch, don't try to cut the wheel sharply to move out of the ditch. The correct procedure is to continue in a straight line to the bottom of the ditch and then ease out of the ditch. Check for traffic before re-entering the highway.
Well, so much for on-road driving tips. Now we're going to be moving out for some off-road maneuvers. But to demonstrate the proper techniques, we have an experienced driver to help us. Let me explain how simple it is to shift into four-wheel drive. With the standard touch drive electric shift transfer case, all you do is press this button, labeled 4x4, to shift into four-wheel drive. You'll know you're in the four-wheel drive mode because the light will appear, and a 4x4 graphic will display here. You can shift in and out of four-wheel drive high while the vehicle is stopped or while traveling at normal road speeds. Your standard touch drive transfer case also has a low-range mode, which provides power to the front and rear axles at reduced speed. To shift into or out of low range, you must stop the vehicle and shift either the automatic transmission to neutral or disengage the clutch on a manual transmission before pushing the low range button. When it's in low range, a light also appears, and a low range graphic is displayed. If your Explorer is equipped with the optional manual transfer case, a different procedure is necessary. You'll need to manually lock the front hubs for four-wheel drive operation. Transfer case selection is made by placing the shift lever in the desired position. Again, shift into or out of the four-wheel drive low range only when the vehicle is stopped and the manual clutch is disengaged, or the automatic transmission is in neutral. The neutral position on the manual transfer case should only be used when the vehicle is being towed. Caution must be used when the transfer case is in the neutral position, because the vehicle is free to move even though the automatic transmission is in park or the manual transmission is in any driving gear. When you're operating in tight situations, you must be aware of the clearance needed for the rear of the vehicle and swing wide enough to avoid a hang-up. When driving over logs, it's best to present one wheel at a time rather than taking it head-on. We call this maneuver duck walking. And always be aware of the clearance beneath the axle differential housing in areas where ground clearance is limited. When operating on steep grades, avoid angling up the grade or turning the wheels. The recommended way to do it is to approach the grade in a straight line to the very top. If you're off-roading in wet grass, bear in mind it can be as treacherous as ice or snow. In this situation, especially on steep descents, you should drop into the low range mode and use the engine for braking. As we recommended for climbing steep grades, you should descend steep grades in a straight line to the bottom and avoid turning the wheel in an angling maneuver. When operating in loose terrain, such as sand, it's important to try to keep all four wheels on the most solid area of the trail. Shift into a lower gear, apply the accelerator slowly, and drive steadily through the soft terrain. If you can, avoid lowering the tire pressures to improve traction. However, if you must reduce tire pressure for whatever reason, make sure you re-inflate the tires before returning to the highway. When driving through mud, be alert for any sudden changes in speed or direction. Even four-wheel drive vehicles can lose traction in slick mud. Also, avoid spinning the wheels, and if you start into a slide, turn the wheels in the direction of the slide to recover. It's wise to hose down the undercarriage as well as the tires after plowing through mud. Before you drive through water, know how deep it is and avoid water deep enough to completely submerge the wheel hubs. Move slowly to avoid splashing. You could stall out if the ignition system gets wet. When you're clear of the water, be sure to test your brakes. Wet brakes aren't as responsive as dry ones. By touching lightly on the brakes as you continue to move, they'll dry faster. And that's it for off-road tips. You know, there's a lot of natural beauty out there to enjoy. Leaving the land as you found it means that that beauty will be there for others who follow. So, tread lightly. Well, we've given you some basic information about your new Explorer. However, we've really only touched on the highlights. For more detailed information, read your owner's guide, supplements, information labels, and talk to your Ford dealer.
Remember, to get long-term enjoyment from your Explorer, treat it properly. Don't place demands on it that may be unsafe. And follow the recommended maintenance schedules. As you explore places you couldn't get to in a conventional vehicle, you'll open new doors to greater traveling comfort, enjoyment, and performance. You'll find that you've chosen a vehicle of uncommon flexibility, one that responds to your active and varied lifestyle and expresses your spirit of individuality. You chose a vehicle to satisfy the driving enthusiast in you. Now, let Explorer take you in search of your adventures.